So in this tutorial today, we're going to be talking about cloud-based rendering options, and we will mainly be focusing on V-Rays. But before I start with that, I do want to mention that there are other rendering outsourcing options available, that being of Paperspace and Render Farm. There's a whole bunch other of which you can check out and see if you like the machines there better than that of Chaos Clouds groups. But so I mainly want to talk about V-Ray though, because that's what you all are learning in your tutorials, and it is significantly easy to set up with the plugin. And so before I really get into it though, cloud-based rendering is specifically for if your file is just becoming too big to manage. And I don't mean quite so much file size, but mainly there's many blocks, you've got a lot of textures, you want a specific lighting when you render, maybe you have things that are really reflective, a bunch of reflective objects. Maybe you're going for a different kind of look like that. If you need something that would either take too long to render on your computer or is having trouble rendering on your computer and or through the remote desktop connection with the school, a cloud-based rendering option might be an option for you. And this is accessible through V-Ray's panel in that you would be setting up your settings the same exact way, whether or not you want high quality, noise limit reduction, or even if you're doing an animation. If you set up a path animation in Rhino, you want to render, say, 35 frames at V-Ray quality with reflective material, cloud-based rendering is perfect. In that case, you would just select animation, be sure to do that. You would be doing this anyways if you're rendering with V-Ray, just to note, and when instead of rendering with the little teapot, you would be rendering with TS Cloud, which is this cloud icon here. And we're going to wait for that to open up our web browser. All right, so here we go. So in here, TS Cloud is analyzing our scene. We can start a new project, name it. We'll have our resolution that we select, and then obviously the size of the rendering. Normally this might be a 16:9 ratio, but also you can completely edit this however you'd like. And then obviously frame range. This is super important if you are doing an animation that you'd like rendered. And also to note here, your output formats. That's pretty much it. And you're going to submit the job. And a great thing about this is that all rendering would then happen through your web browser, which is the case with any cloud-based rendering. But it's wonderful in that you do not have to rely on your computer breaking down. You don't have to worry about your computer losing anything or stopping or a rendering failing or anything like that, because it will all be managed and outsourced by a company, in that there are also terms that they have if a rendering were to fail. I would definitely read this. I think that they can return credits to you, and there's a great return policy there if something happens. One thing to note too is purchasing credits. So all of these options are come at a price, truly, and I don't mean this as go spend $100 on credits. I ran a project that went for 50 credits, and if you do in larger group projects and you really need to just get the project done and looking good, it sometimes is worth it to splurge a bit and split the cost. Do note here that you are entitled to 20 free credits for anyone to test the service with KS Cloud. And yeah, that's it. So also another thing too is that when I was doing this, I tried to find something of what 100 credits would equal. How many renderings could I do? Could I do a 50 frame animation, or did I have to go to 35? And unfortunately, that's entirely dependent on what you're rendering, the reflectivity, noise, illumination, materials in the render, how long your rendering is. It's dependent on so many different things. that it's hard to get an exact number for that. So be prepared to understand that if you are in the middle of rendering something, KS Cloud will ask that you buy more credits while the job is active. So if you see here, active jobs will be paused and you won't be able to submit any new jobs, but you can resume once you've bought more credits. So nothing will be automatically purchased, if that makes sense. Yeah, cloud-based rendering is a great option when you really need it, honestly, and it can sometimes be a big lifesaver for a project.